Welcome to the Acres of Diamonds podcast with Bob Larsen, a nationally recognized expert in the analysis of complex life insurance structures. In the Acres of Diamonds podcast, Bob talks about the flip side of owning a life insurance policy that your client has outgrown or that has underperformed. We share insight and strategies to help advisors maximize the effectiveness and value of their clients' life insurance policies.
Hello and welcome to Acres of Diamonds with Bob Larsen from the Settlement Masters. Today we're going to be talking about selling more life and annuity business through life settlements. Good afternoon, Bob. How are you?
Good afternoon, Eric. Today's good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. A beautiful day to talk about selling, right?
I think that's a good thing to do. We all are salespeople, so yes, let's get it on.
That's right. I think that everybody can be a salesperson if they're passionate about what they're representing. And if you don't have the passion, you're just somebody slinging mud, basically. You've got to be passionate about it. And I know that you are very passionate about the settlement industry in itself. And we've talked before about the opportunities that are afforded people that work with life settlements. And so, and you've discussed the fiduciary responsibility, talking to seniors about life settlements and what an advisor's role is. Can you tell us what some of the other opportunities it has?
First of all, I'm passionate about helping people that are not being helped, and they're in that senior class, it's a class where some of which are left behind and some of which are used in a way that's not integrous. So those laws that are the Anti-Discrimination Acts against seniors have been brought up many times by regulators relative to life settlements, in that carriers must notify seniors if they're over 65, if they're dropping or cashing a policy in, that a settlement might be a good option. Why is that? I mean, when you stop and think that the regulators are doing that, it's apparent to me that there is some reason why every professional advisor on this web podcast should put this in his battle bag as a process, not a product, but a process of helping people analyze their life insurance contracts. I'm sure you're all aware of the fact that 13 carriers have raised the cost of insurance internally in the last 24 months. It is busting up life insurance policies. It's wearing them out. They're dropping like flies. 500,000 last year dropped or cashed in their policies in that category. And only like minor part of less than 1% did a life settlement. But here's the interesting thing, Eric. They interviewed as many of those people as they could that actually dropped their contract or cashed it in. And they said, did you know about settlements? And they said, what is a settlement? And so when they were told what a settlement was, they were angry.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had given something away at a garage sale and you found out that it was worth millions of dollars, you'd be really upset.
Yeah, a little bit.
And these people are really upset. And if you don't think there's going to be lawsuits regarding the advisors around them, you got to think about that again, because it's going to happen. There's already tremendous pressure on carriers. For an example, I believe it was Georgia that came out that said any carrier that disciplines an advisor for offering a life settlement will be penalized, because they recognize that this today it's a cleaned up industry. It's an industry that's got a purpose, and especially because of all that's gone on in the life insurance world that's been negative for seniors. Not only that, the estate planning attorneys are clawing at these guys, these wealthy seniors, to use up their unified credit, the tax-free amount you can give to your kids, because in 2025, it's going to go back down to where it was. So it'll drop from 11.4 down to 5.4. So they're going to lose $6 million of tax-free gifts they can give their kids. These people have life insurance contracts. They no longer want, and what they're doing is they're not paying premium. They're letting it ride. And when you let it ride, the internal costs eat up the cash value and shorten the death benefit. So when the death benefit runs out, it's all over.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about that because it's helping people that are not being represented today by the advisor community.
Yeah, talking about that, I mean, how frustrated would those people be? I'm still frustrated that I got rid of an old bicycle I had. I had an old Orange Crush bike with a big tire on the back, a small one in the front, had a little gear shift in there. It was really cool. It was like a hot rod looking bike, and I looked that up about a year ago. Now it's worth like $2,500. I'm mad that I don't have $2,500, not alone $2 million. Wow, yeah, nobody wants to lose out on that stuff.
Good.
So the life settlement process, I know that you've told me before, and just as I'm learning from you, that advisors have a tremendous amount of opportunities. And the process done by a professional opens up all these opportunities. Cleaning up gifting, grandkids education, you brought that up before. And like you said just now, estate planning. What else is there that they can really tap into?
Well, it's converting something that's almost nothing into something that's worth a lot. And these people, most of them, are not in the wealthy class. There are a tremendous number of policies in irrevocable life insurance trusts, but I'll talk to those separately. The ones that have done estate planning and no longer need it, and trust me, I work with some of the top law firms all over the country, and every law firm is trying to get the client to use up the unified credit, the tax-free amount they can give to their kids, because of this reversal that's going to occur in 2025. So if you don't know that, call me. You can call me at 877-927-7243. Call me and I'll explain that to you. Because when it goes back, it's going to be awful if they haven't used up the credit. So anyway, cleaning up gifting. There's a lot of times people want to do things for their kids and grandkids. And a lot of them want to do it, but they can't afford to do it because they have so much money for retirement. Because the bulk of these 500,000 people that dropped their contract weren't in the wealthy class. They were okay. They were retired, and they needed more retirement income. Some of them have enough retirement income and gifting to their grandkids while they're alive, seeing what the grandkids or kids are able to do with that money is just a very rewarding thing for them. I have one client that had done great estate planning by a great firm. They no longer needed the life insurance. And so they came to me and said, we're thinking of cashing in. And I said, there's maybe a better option, but we want to look at both. And so the cash value in the policies was $238,000 or somewhere in that $230,000 number. And the value of the contracts was $1.5 million. So they decided to sell the policies, and they did. What's interesting is the son, who was really not really someone that had shown a lot of industry, a lot of potential. The mother said, I'm going to give you this to you on one option. You must invest this money into real estate. You get to pick, but it's got to be real estate that pays an income to you. He said, well, what do you mean? And so she explained it to him. And he went out and started looking for real estate, and he'd bring it to his mom. And she said, no, you decide. Here's what you want to look at. How much do you pay, and what percentage of income do you get? That's all you want to know. You want to make sure you know how much you have to pay and what is your net income after any expenses. He built, this was a $5 million policy. He built a $7.5 million real estate portfolio in 7 years with that $1.5 million. And he did it. He's got more money now than he would have had if his mother had died. And that money is going to, for life, pay him a substantial income. That was really great. The mom's still alive. She's in a nursing home, but she really is so proud of her son. She taught him how to take care of himself, and she did it with just gifts. The grandkids are the same. A lot of grandparents would like to pay their grandkids' education. If they sell their policy they don't need or that's not working, they can't afford, they may have enough money to do that. And done it properly. I give out a book called The Greatest Secret. In this book, it talks about how a billionaire had destroyed his entire family, and he had one grandson, and how he raised this grandson by teaching him how to gift. And the grandson grew up to be a great philanthropist. He was the only non-enabled person in the entire family. So being able to see your grandkids use gifts in the proper way, knowing how to gift in a way where they have incentive, is extremely exciting for grandparents. I'll tell you about some estate planning things, but everybody that's retired needs long-term care, and most people don't have it. And they need it because they're going to need long-term care at some point in time in their life, and it is horribly expensive. My mother-in-law lives in a retirement home. She's not in excessive care. She's 92, but she's still, going shopping and doing great things. She looks great, but she is paying $6,000 a month in this long-term care facility. Many of them are $9,000, $10,000 a month. You can wipe out your entire estate. If you don't have multi-millions, you can wipe out that entire estate with long-term care expenses. So the money from life insurance settlements can create a long-term care plan. There are long-term care plans I'll tell you about a little later, but there's an exciting product in that area. And if you show people that maybe we can evaluate your contract, it's not working, you're not happy with what you have to pay, they've raised the cost. The cost on some of these cases have gone up 3 to 5 times of what they've been used to paying. And so you got to find someone that's in that category. There's a lot of them. Most every senior that would purchase policies between 1990 and 2010 are in that category today, and they're in their 80s. Long-term care, adding to their retirement. Those are real things. You can, it's kind of like years ago, there was a television series called The Millionaire. And it was really kind of an exciting series at that time because this millionaire would research out and he'd find somebody that was worthy of more money and had industry that worked hard. And he would knock on the door and give them $1 million subject to certain contingencies. You can be that millionaire to clients. Now think about that. You're selling product and you're having them come up with money to do this. In the settlement arena, you're creating the money that they can go ahead and do other product items, money under management, long-term care, retirement, estate planning, other things I'll talk about that you can do with that money. You're the millionaire. Creating money that was there that they didn't know was there is an exciting thing if you approach it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of, the way you say it, it kind of reminds me or makes me think of if I had somebody that came to me and said, you know what, I'll take that old Chevy off of you. And what I'm going to do is I sell cars for a living and I sell new cars. So I'll take that old Chevy off of you. And here's all the money you need to buy a brand new car. That's a pretty easy sale. That's me going, okay, well, I'll ride with you to the dealership and I'll ride home in a new car.
Yeah. And I want more advisors to get this picture because they're stuck. Many of them are stuck in old definition of life settlements before all the regs cleaned up the industry. And it's a phenomenal tool and a needed tool today for the senior class.
Can you give us an example or a couple examples of advisors that have worked with you that have made sales because of it?
Yeah, I've got 10 sales ideas in the same category. There's something called a SLAT. Now, for those of you listening, many of you will know that high-end attorneys create SLATs for wealthy clients. They don't have to be super, super wealthy, but they have to have some money. A SLAT is a spousal life access trust. And what it does, it's an irrevocable trust. And what it does is it allows you to buy life insurance on your life, make your wife the owner of the contract, and give the wife the ability to access the trust if the money is needed later on. If it isn't needed, when you pass, it will go tax-free to your children. Now, why that's so exciting is people buy life insurance in irrevocable trust, ILETs, and they can't get to the money. I mean, there's ways of borrowing it if the kids will lend it to you, but this is an automatic setup for the guy that got married the second time or third time. He's got the trophy wife, and he's 30 years older than she is. And trust me, there's a lot of them out there that are at least 20 years older than their spouse. And he's uninsurable. He's got this old policy that's chunking along, and it can't, it's not going to make it. It's going to die before he does. And so you go in and say, Mr. Smith, there's something that's happened in the life insurance business. It's an opportunity. And I'm not talking about you buying anything. I'm talking about us creating money that could allow you to set up a special trust for your new bride and set it up in a way where she'd be the beneficiary and have accessibility to it. I'll create the money for you to do that. It's called a SLAT. And he says, well, tell me more about it. And you say, well, before I tell you about it, let's evaluate and see if you qualify. And I don't need you to buy anything. I don't need you to do anything other than give me some information. Let me find out what the economic value is of the policy you bought in 2008. Because 99 times out of 100, that policy is already corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we hear about internet breaching and people getting malware. Viruses, thank you. Viruses in their web page and on their email. Well, this is what's happened to the life insurance business. There is a virus that has been created by the insurance companies. They've been planted in the life insurance contracts of people in their 80s and 90s. It's a virus that will eat the entire cash value up, and the policy will lapse, or they're going to have to put in 3, 4, 5 times the premium that they've been paying in the past. Wake up, America.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get to the advisor that wants to know about this, wants to make it part of his practice. Let me show him how to do this. I'll walk him through it. I'll also partner with him and do all the work ourselves and give him most of the compensation. So a SLAT is a estate planning technique for those of you that are in the advanced markets. For those of you that aren't, being able to be that millionaire that knocks on the door and says, if you own life insurance, there's a possibility that I can save the problem that it probably exists in your life insurance and maybe turn that contract into millions of dollars that you didn't know you had. We've done that over 10 times, the SLATs. It's been found money that the senior wealthy client didn't know he had, and you said, let me see if I can help you do that.
Bob, you've talked before about annuities as well. How do you approach that topic with the senior?
People that are in the money management business like this a lot, because every time you analyze someone's life insurance contract that's in this category of 80s and 90-year-old people, these policies, even though you'd think, well, why would a 90-year-old sell their life insurance? That's crazy. Well, I'll tell you why. Because the 90-year-old that has a disease, a virus in his policy, he's not going to keep it. He's going to drop it, or he's borrowed against it, and it's heavily laden with loans. So what you can do is take that money, help him see the problem. And the problem is, do you have a virus in your life insurance contract? I like what you said, Eric. Do you have a virus in your life insurance contract? And he says, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, there's 13 carriers have put viruses in the life insurance policies of people that issued or purchased the contract between 1990 and 2008 or 9, 10 in that area. Really? Yes. And those policies are being destroyed by this virus. They're eating up the cash value. It's increased cost that you didn't know existed. And so let me ask you, most of them have a younger wife, and even if they don't, they need more money for retirement. Well, this is a great opportunity to create money for them to put into annuities that pay them an immediate income. It could be a SPIA, a single premium immediate annuity. It could be a varied type of an annuity that pays out income quarterly. We've had more people enjoy a better lifestyle that had policies that were going to lapse. It's an amazing feeling of gratefulness that I know what I know about this business, and that I'm able to help advisors help their clients, because I'm seeing thousands of them turn something that was nothing, that was diseased, it had a virus, into something that they can enjoy during their lifetime, or their kids can enjoy during their lifetime. An important task for professionals to take on that feel like they're a fiduciary of their client.
Do you have any other examples of what type of problems can be solved with a life settlement?
Well, anything money can buy. You know, there's not anybody I've ever met that's got enough of that. Most of them have stuff, but a lot of even the wealthy people don't have a lot of liquidity. I mean, they have a lot of income, but they live on their income. They may have a 4 cap or something where they're taking 4% of their asset value. But think about that. $1 million at 4% is only $40,000 a year. I say only, but it's still not enough for a person to live a decent lifestyle. $2 million at 4% is $80,000 a year. You're still talking about a number that is before taxes that is really not enough for you to live a lifestyle, to do what you want, with whom you want, when you want. It just isn't. You have to have $3 million at 4%. You got 120,000. After taxes, you might have 90,000 or 80,000. How much money do you have to have a lifestyle that will allow you to do those things? So liquidity is an important thing. And when you can turn an asset that is going to be bankrupted, that is going to be destroyed, into liquidity, you're able to allow these people to do things that they weren't able to do. Like, for an example, I mentioned long-term care earlier. A lot of our clients are taking the money that they get from a settlement on a policy that they weren't going to use, and we're turning it into a long-term care policy. And how we're doing that is there's a policy that's 100% liquid. So that means that if they put in $300,000 into this policy, there's $300,000 cash value immediately in the policy. But the carrier will give them, let's say, $600,000, $700,000 with a long-term care bucket. So they turned $300,000 from a policy that they were going to get nothing. They had no cash value. They got $300,000. They turned it into $600,000 of long-term care. When you do that, the $300,000 you put in is completely liquid. You could take it out at any time. If you do, you'll lose your benefit, but you could take it out at any time. So there's ways of making the mother or the father and a child the co-insured. So you're able to get the father at an older age insured under long-term care. It's money that's creating solutions to problems people couldn't afford to take care of.
Yeah.
Whether it be retirement, whether it be estate planning, whether it be long-term care. All of these things are things people buy. That's what the people that are listening to this is what they represent as solutions to clients. All I'm talking about is helping you find the money. Find the money to help these clients go ahead and move and do the things that you're asking them to do anyway.
Yeah, and I think most advisors out there, they would agree that one of the things that pops into people's heads when they talk to somebody about retirement is their biggest fear is running out of money, right? And that's the biggest fear for anybody looking at retirement. And so long-term care, just increased health expenses overall, if they're able to provide something like this, money can't buy happiness, but doggone it, money can sure take away a lot of fear. If you know that you have the amount of money that you're going to need for those circumstances, to be able to live fear-free, I think is a huge benefit for anybody's mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. I mean, I would love for that, for every older person to not have to worry about that. So that's great. And Bob, in past podcasts, you've given kind of the secret of getting to the wealthy senior market. Can you give just a brief review? I know we're running low on time, but a brief review on this podcast so the listeners that are listening to this one can hear your process.
1% of the population's in the wealthy category. Wealthy is someone that's got more than $2 million of total assets, and that's the top 1%. That goes all the way to Bill Gates and all those folks. The rest of us are in the 99 percentile. Those are the people that have money, or they have stuff, or they're just living on a pension. How do you get to them? And that's the question. Prospecting has always been the biggest hurdle amongst salespeople. This is easy stuff. If they get the mindset that you're creating money, you're the millionaire, you're the person that's going to come to them and give them a surprise. Where you find them, all your clients that are 50 years old, they got parents and grandparents. Ask them. They're usually the beneficiary anyway of the parents and grandparents. Ask them. Tell them about the problem. Tell them about the virus. Tell them that there is an opportunity to create more revenue for their parent and grandparent to do the things that they need to do, so they don't eat up the inheritance that's going to be passed down after they pass. So anytime anybody's 50 years and older, they're going to have somebody in the 80s, 90s category. And that's the category. And there's more of those people today than ever before. So all you got to do is every time you're with somebody, say, do you have a parent or grandparent that's living? Have they done any planning? Have they ever purchased life insurance? They might say, well, yeah, they have, but they can't afford it now, and they're not going to buy any more. I'm not talking about buying more. There's a secret in the life insurance industry about how to convert policies that are small, large, at any size into a lot more money than they're worth. And your parents or grandparents may be interested in that. You need to create curiosity. Mm-hmm. Someone told me a long time ago, you salt the oats. You don't try to, shove the oats down the horse's throat. You salt the oats to make him drink water. He eats the oats, he gets thirsty, he drinks water. And what you want to do is give the people enough information to make them want to move forward with you, to give you the next series of information so that you can see whether or not you have a client, a prospect. But ask the people that you're dealing with. Ask the people. 30-year-olds have parents that are 50, and 50-year-olds have parents that are 70 and 80 and 90. And certainly 60-year-olds have 80s and 90s as grandparents and parents. It's just a matter of turning your beam on, understanding that it's a great idea. It can help people do things that they wouldn't normally be able to do. And you ought to do it now. You ought to incorporate this now in your practice. It'll add millions of dollars to your investment portfolio. It will give people hundreds of thousands of dollars more income, LTC, annuities, annuity income. It's just a great technique. You don't have one other technique where you're creating money for people. This is it. It's legal. It's ethical. It's regulated. There's nothing that you do that creates money for people. This is the big bonus that you can take upon yourself, and I'll help you do it.
All right. Do you have any other closing thoughts for us today, Bob?
Well, I always close with the same thought because getting started has to do with changing habits. And if you can't change your habits, you're not going to. This is interesting, Bob. I like this stuff, but you know what? I'll put it on the shelf and think about it. Don't think about it. Call me.
Yep.
My mentor said to me one time, Bob, you're never going to do something unless you do it now. Unless you make a commitment to yourself, make an appointment in your book, do it now. Our number is 877-927-7243. We will help you do it. We have hundreds of advisors all over the country that have added this to their battle bag. So I'll leave you with a poem before Eric asked me. It's a poem that I live my life with because I know that life is right now. It's not in the future. It's not in the past. My mentor made me memorize this. He said, on the plains of hesitation, Bob, bleak the bones of countless millions, that on the dawn of victory, they sat down to think about it, and there they died. So don't sit down. Pick up your phone right now. Call me, 877-927-7243. My name is Bob Larsen. I've been in the business for over 50 years. I know the insides, the outsides, and most of the presidents of companies. Help me help other people. Let's work together. 877-927-7243.
All right. Thank you, Bob, so much. All right. And thank you for listening to the Acres of Diamond podcast with Bob Larsen. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Bob comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This will make it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends, family, and hopefully your parents, grandparents, or coworkers. Thank you again for listening today. For everyone at the Settlement Masters, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Acres of Diamonds podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.